today's video is going to be a bit of a blast from the past. This is a very similar concept to what is in my makeup bag video, but instead of every month, we're going to do every fortnight. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to leave some of them down below. Basically, I'm just going to talk you through the makeup items that I've been using in the last month, and I'm going to really quickly mention the cream I'm using. Usually I use Release when I wear makeup, but I decided to try the simple Water Boost Hydrating Gel Cream. This is a day cream version. I love the night cream version, and what I will say is if you're combo skin, definitely give this a go. I know it says it's for dehydrated or dry skin, but I don't know that it would be the most hydrating or hydrating enough for dry skin, but that's really, really nice. So for my eyebrows, I actually managed to finish a product. Woohoo! This is, I think it is the L.A Girl brow pencil in like brown shady or something along those lines. I will link it down below. I got it from Beauty Bay a while ago. Too dark for me, although I do like the Precise Point. It's too dark, and it's a similar price to my favourite microblading pencil from Revolution. So yeah, I'm not going to be repurchasing this. It's nothing to write home about. But then on the other side, I use this pencil. This is a Cian brow pencil, and it says it's a brush and a pen, but it's actually literally like a dupe of the Benefit / ABH sort of triangular design pencil, and on the other side it's got a spoolie. This stuff is really, really good. It's £1.50, the cheapest brow pencil you'll ever find, and right now it's on sale anyway at Lidl for £1.50. The downside is that Lidl like chop and change their other items all the time, so there's no guarantee this is going to be around for very long, which is why I've already picked up a backup. A really nice shade for myself, really easy to use. You don't have to press too hard, you just lightly fill in the missing gaps and add a bit of shape. Absolutely 100% would recommend that. Now the two bases I've been using this month are the NARS Velvet Matte Skin Tint, and it's got SPF 30 in it, and this is what I've been using for day to day, for work, etc. And then I've also been using the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Stick Foundation. I'm going to quickly talk about this because it's actually been discontinued as far as I know. I have this much left, a very, very small amount, and this is really beautiful for an evening or when you know you want your makeup to look really good for a couple of hours. Longevity wise, this is probably one of my worst foundations. For me personally, it just doesn't seem to want to stay on my skin, and I find that quite frustrating. So you know, even if I could repurchase it, I'm not sure that I would rush out to buy it. I think I would rather try like the Hourglass Stick Foundation next. But I will say that this shade is the closest shade to my skin tone that I've ever found. And if you are familiar with my channel, you'll know that I do tend to go up a shade or two because my face skin is a lot lighter than the rest of me. So when I do wear that, I have to super heavy bronze. But yeah, it's a lovely foundation. It's just not around anymore, so I'm going to be using it up and getting rid of it. And then yeah, the NARS one. Now this is a Velvet Matte Skin Tint. I would say that if you don't like a matte finish, but you want a finish that's not too dewy or not too shiny, or a finish that's going to give you longevity even when it's warm, this is the one for you. Plus the SPF 30+++ means that it's a real SPF. Like, it is not just slapped on there to look impressive. So this is actually my go-to base for holidays. As you can see, it's quite deep, but it does match me very nicely now that my makeup's on. I really like this. Am I going to be repurchasing this like next week when it runs out? No. But would I repurchase it again in the future when I'm planning to go to a warm country for summertime? Yes. So it's not an instant repurchase, but I just find for work the longevity is really decent. I actually am filming this now 4 hours after I did the initial application, and you guys are seeing both, you know, 4 hours later and the application. And I will say that it does settle into your smile lines, and it does like sort of move around a little bit after the sort of 7-8 hour mark if you don't put any strong primer in place or setting spray in place. And I typically don't use setting spray for day to day because a lot of them have got a very high concentration of alcohol in it. I like a base that can actually last, and because that is a soft matte finish, it will last, which is great. And then for the under eyes, I think I actually should have started with this first, but we're going to just go in the order that we're going in now. So the first things I used were the L.A Girl concealers. Such a blast from the past. I feel like every time, if I had £5 every time I said that phrase in my last video and in this video, I would literally be a millionaire. But I bought so many of these when they were all the rage, and I bought them off a website called Beauty Join, and basically I just had a really good deal, and I've got so many of these that are not even open that I just want to get through now. So I've been using the shade Peach Corrector, and as you can see in the clip, it does a decent job. You know, it's not quite as strong in pigment for my liking, to be honest, and I feel like I can still see the darkness, so it's not the best corrector ever, but it definitely does do the job. I also have the shade Creamy Beige here. This is the one that Carly Bible used to use for under her eyes, and it was such a lovely peachy brightening shade, but today I use this over my blemishes. You can see my skin, you guys, has really been going through it. I've been talking about this in quite a few videos and on my Instagram. My skin has been leaving me very uninspired to film and create, to be honest, but for some reason I've got this boost, this burst of energy to come back and, you know, create more valuable content for you guys. And I think it was partly doing the lipstick declutter, you know, and getting rid of like over 40 lipsticks in one sitting was a really freeing feeling. And also I've been clearing out my whole room and giving so many bags of clothes away to charity and just like cleansing my life and decluttering my life, and it's a great feeling. So I don't know where, like, how we got from this to that, but basically it did a pretty good job at correcting the darkness from the discoloration, and the creamy beige shade actually works really well for under the eyes too. So yeah, I do like these concealers. I still think they're good concealers, but I do strongly believe that there are better concealers out there now for the same price. So once I've used all of these up, which could take a while, I won't be repurchasing them. And then for the actual under eyes, I have used the Pat McGrath Labs concealer and the E.L.F Camo concealer. This is in the shade Light Beige. I've got review videos for both of these up, so I'm not going to talk about them in detail. You can see me applying it right now. This is a great peachy shade, really stunning formula with an equally expensive price tag to match. And then this shade, I just could not wear this by itself. It's far too bright. However, as you can see, mixed with this, or mixed with something a bit deeper, it does a really good job at brightening up the whole face. The coverage of this is incredible. The formula is a little bit on the drying side, so you can't really wait around too much before you start blending it out. But these two have actually been really, really nice to use, and as much as I miss Kevin, they've done a pretty good job. Now to set my under eyes in place, I've been using my Kat Von D Shade and Light palette. This must be 4 or 5 years old now. I love this thing to bits. I have used it up really well. I've hit pan on 4 different things. Now I decided that once I've completely used up the top shades as much as I can, I'm just going to get rid of it. I will be repurchasing this in the future, but the thing is, like I was saying in my video before, when you're a blogger, you find things you like and then you're like, oh, maybe I should try and find something that's like a cheaper alternative to that, so that people who have just started to get into makeup can still like use good products but they don't have to spend like £40 or whatever on one palette. And then, you know, you just accumulate so much stuff. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this kind of video, this kind of format of 2 weeks, is that I'm going to use things up and I'm going to really question, like, am I going to use that or do I need to just let it go? Because there's so many things in my collection and there's no way I'm going to be able to use it all on my face, and some of these things I've had for far too long. So this is pretty much on its way out. And I adore this palette. As you can see, this is the perfect under eye yellow shade ever. But at the moment I'm mixing all 3 of them and they just do the job so well. It sets my concealer in place. It's really, really good. And this is equally a fantastic contouring shade. Towards the latter end of my makeup routine, I show you this as a contour, but for my bronzer, I use this duo. Again, you can see it's a little bit battered. I've had this for a while too. This is a NARS Orgasm and Laguna duo, iconic, and I have hit some pretty amazing pan on this. Laguna is my favourite bronzer, hands down. I have Laguna in this. I have a big Laguna. I have Laguna in 2 or 3 different palettes. It is fail proof. I have never regretted wearing Laguna when I've worn it. I love the fact it's got a slight sheen because it gives you a beautifully sun-kissed finish. Absolutely love Laguna and will use this up. This shade, however, as stunning as it is on my skin tone, I feel like it does add some life and some brightness to me, and it just adds a lovely amount of sparkle. I wouldn't rush out to buy it again. Like, it's a nice shade to have, a really nice shade for an Asian skin tone, and if you see the mini size on Cult Beauty and you're like umming and ahhing over it, I say go for it because it will last you the longest time. Like, the longevity of these products on your face as well as in the pan, unbeatable. NARS based products are fantastic, honestly. However, funnily enough, talking about that, the powder that I used to set and bake my under eyes was the Beige Soft Velvet Loose Powder. To be fair, I've had this for a very, very long time. It says 24 months on the back and I've had it for longer than 24 months. But I have quite a few issues with this. Number one, the powder does not come out well at all. Like the smallest amount will come out on the lid, and so a lot of the times I find myself literally just tipping this upside down and tapping and tapping and tapping and just not getting enough powder at all to cover the areas I need it to. So there's a big packaging flaw. I don't know if it's just with my one or in general, but I'm not the biggest fan. Number two, it's a much heavier powder than the Laura Mercier. I feel like once you try the Laura Mercier powder, it's very hard to go back, even though the shade of this is beautiful for my skin tone. But the actual formula of the powder itself, I'm not the biggest fan. I never am thrilled or stunned with how my under eyes look when I've used this. So this is actually going to be going in my empties and going in the bin. Even though I've got product left in it, there's no point hanging on to it. And I've tried my best to make it work for the last 2 weeks, but it's just not the best and definitely not one that I would be repurchasing. Now for my highlighter, I've used the E.L.F jelly highlighter. I feel like I've spoken about this a lot of times. All I'm going to say in this video is that a top tip is to not use this if you've already powdered. So what I like to do is quickly do my concealer, like blend it out, and then put some of this on once my face is still fairly like damp from the liquid products, and then I'll powder where I need to, because as soon as you powder and you're trying to put a formula like this over the top, it's just going to be a patchy nightmare. But I do love the glow and the sheen that it gives. I find that it can look quite subtle, but then it can also, once it catches the light, it can look quite blinding. This is a really good base for a regular highlighter, but it also works super well on its own. I don't know how long this is going to last, because I know that products like these can tend to dry out quite quickly, especially if you're not careful with the lid. But so far it's been lasting me pretty well and I am a fan. Now I can't remember what I went on to next, but I'm thinking it's the eyes and the eyeshadow. So this last 2 weeks I've been revisiting my Viseart Warm Edit palette. Again, I have 2 whole videos dedicated to this one palette. I have a review of it and I have a 5 looks in 1 video, so I will link all of these videos that I'm talking about down below so you can check them out. But as you can see, the shade range is gorgeous, and do you know what? These are one of the most expensive eyeshadow formulas out there, but for a very, very good reason. As you can see, as I'm applying this, I'm hardly having to go back into the pan. It packs a punch. They pack a punch, but they blend gorgeously. They are not patchy, they are not difficult to use, and they have hardly any fallout. So I love the formula of this, and I would definitely repurchase Viseart shadows in the future, but I don't need any more right now. So then my eyeliner and my mascaras. Now I use the Rimmel eyeliner. This eyeliner is a real blast from the past for me. Again, saying that phrase, but it's one of the first eyeliners I ever got, and what I will say is, as matte as it is and as dramatic as it is, there are now, in my opinion, better eyeliners. In terms of the fact that this brush will never ever stay perfect and it will always get thick and you'll have to like play around with scissors and try and get it to be the perfect shape after a while. But I will say that it does last you a very long time. Like, I feel like this liner can literally like keep going for ages. Really good value for money. Very dramatic. Like, if you like a thick wing liner, then you will definitely like it. But you guys know I have an absolute favourite, and it's from Revolution. Their Renaissance liner, which I'll link down below, is just so much better, and the Rimmel one's not even bad, so that should tell you how much I like the Renaissance one. Really, really great and definitely worth checking out. So for my mascaras, I used 2 different ones these last 2 weeks. The first one is the Essence I Heart Extreme. Does what it says on the tin. It is very, very volumizing. It's not the most lengthening, but it definitely gives you volume. I really like this, especially when it's a bit drier. The second one is another little brand. This is a CN Mascara Volume Black, and I just think so far, I just feel like it doesn't do as good of a job as the Essence ones in my opinions. So although they're both very affordable, I at the moment don't see myself rushing back to repurchase it for the mascara, because it's just okay. It's nothing amazing, you know, it's just alright. So then moving on to the lips. Now what I've decided is that I'm not going to stick to a specific lip product, because there's so many ones, like I said in my decluttering video, that I just want to use up and get rid of, that I'm just going to be chopping and changing. There's quite a few in my bags, there's 1 or 2 in my car, so whenever I want to put a lipstick on and try and use it up, I will. But just for the purpose of telling you guys what I've got on my lips, the liner is the E.L.F X Colourpop in the shade Curvy. Really, really stunning colour and formula. Colourpop lip liners are some of the best in the whole market. And then on top of that, I went in with the Essence Matte Long Lasting Lip Gloss, and this is in the shade 02 Beauty Approved. And then on top of that, I went in with the Lamasca Sheer Lip Gloss, and that is my lips. And then basically, obviously, I've just cooked and eaten, so my lip did fade, and then I just came back and put some of this lip gloss on top, and this has been on for a while, and it's just a great non-sticky lip gloss. But yeah, I think that was almost the last thing. And then the final thing, which I've spoken about before, is the Essence Make Me Brow. Gave me brow dupe from Benefit, but for like £2, the best thing ever. And I use the shade 05 Brownie Brows today, and honestly you guys, if you ever have a brow pencil, brow product that looks too harsh, too grey, too dark, too cool tone on you, you need to get the shade 5, because that's going to counterbalance. As you can see in the clip where I'm applying it, as dark and as dramatic and over the top as my brows look beforehand, they look so much better once I'd put this in place. Plus it gives hair-like strokes, plus it sets your eyebrows in place and means they're not going to melt off throughout the day, which is always a good thing. So I will forever and ever repurchase this, and if they ever discontinue it, I'm going to be super sad. So please, Essence, please guys, just don't do that to us, please. Right, I hope you enjoyed that video. It was definitely a much faster version. Let me know if you think I was talking too fast, because I will slow it down, but at the same time I'm also aware that we don't all have half an hour to sit around and talk about the makeup that I've been wearing, you know. And if you did get to this part of the video, do leave me an animal emoji down below. I'd love to know how many of you get to the end, because according to my analytics, it's very few people, and that's fine, but it would just be cool to know who does get to the end, because, you know, I want to throw a few little surprise giveaways here and there, and it's going to be to people like you who actually bother to watch my content, like, engage, all the rest of it. I hope you're enjoying my more frequent uploads, and I will see you guys in my next video. I don't know what that's going to be, probably a vlog at this point. However, I will also be doing another fortnightly makeup video in 2 weeks, so we'll have a look and see what items I picked and have been using then. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. See you in the next one. Bye!